If you close this video right now, you will permanently lose the 6 specific foods that Japanese and Korean physicians have used for 30 years to reverse the silent muscle collapse that most Western doctors tell patients over 60 is simply a normal part of aging, being a condition called sarcopenia that affects 45% of adults over 80 in the United States, while affecting fewer than 12% of older adults in Japan. A gap that genetics does not explain because Japanese Americans who abandon traditional dietary patterns lose that protective advantage within a single decade, meaning the difference between a 75-year-old who climbs stairs without hesitation and one who grips the railing with both hands is whether they are feeding their leg muscles the precise nutritional compounds needed to maintain fiber density, nerve signaling, and contractile strength every single day. Your doctor has almost certainly told you this is inevitable. The research says otherwise. Most people over 60 have been told that losing strength in their legs is simply what happens with age, that the heaviness when climbing stairs, the wobble when standing from a chair, and the cramping that wakes them at 2 in the morning are natural consequences of getting older, and that nothing meaningful can be done about them outside of physical therapy and medication. After 27 years of clinical practice studying why older Asian populations maintain leg strength, balance, and independent mobility at rates that consistently outperform Western counterparts of the same age, I can tell you that this framing is not just incomplete. It is costing people their independence years before they need to lose it. The biology of muscle aging is not a one-way door. It is a system with measurable inputs and measurable outputs, and the most powerful inputs are not pharmaceutical. They are nutritional, and they are available at any grocery store for less than the cost of a single copayment. My name is Dr. Jae Yoon. I am a physician trained in Western clinical medicine and traditional East Asian integrative medicine, and I have spent 27 years studying why older adults in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan maintain leg muscle mass, functional balance, and walking independence at rates that Western geriatric medicine has documented but failed to replicate through pharmaceutical intervention. The answer I found was not a drug and not a supplement protocol. It was a nutritional pattern built around 6 specific foods that act as precision fuel and structural building material for the muscles and nerves of the legs. Foods that most Western seniors either avoid, consume incorrectly, or consume at the wrong time of day, losing the biological window in which their aging muscles are most capable of absorbing the compounds that would rebuild them. What I am going to share with you today is not alternative medicine. It is peer-reviewed muscle biology that your doctor was never taught to apply nutritionally. I want to stop for just one moment because I need to ask you something directly. I do not have a pharmaceutical company or supplement brand funding this channel. What I have is this research, this camera, and you. Right now, before we go any further, do 3 things that cost you absolutely nothing. First, press like right now. Without that like, YouTube buries this video and the person who needs it most never finds it. With your like, this reaches 100,000 people, and somewhere in that number is a 70-year-old who just told their family they are afraid to walk to the mailbox alone. Your like is the reason they find this today or never do. Second, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Every week I release research your doctor was never taught in medical school, and your subscription is what keeps this channel reaching people who still have time to act on it. Third, leave me a comment right now telling me what country you are watching from, and whether leg weakness or balance problems are something you or someone you love is dealing with right now. I read every single one. Now let us talk about what is actually happening in your legs and exactly what to do about it. The condition driving leg weakness and loss of independence in older adults has a clinical name most Western physicians mention only in passing: sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the progressive loss of skeletal muscle mass, strength, and function that begins in your 30s at approximately 1% per year and accelerates dramatically after 60. By age 75, the average Western adult has lost between 25 and 40% of the muscle mass they had at 40, and the legs show this loss first and most severely. Here is the critical point your physician almost certainly has not told you. Sarcopenia is not caused by aging alone. It is caused by the interaction of aging with specific nutritional deficiencies that are entirely correctable, being deficiencies in the precise amino acids, anti-inflammatory compounds, and nerve signaling nutrients that aging muscles require in higher quantities than younger muscles. quantities that the standard Western diet for older adults consistently fails to deliver. Before I give you the 6 foods, I want you to understand the 3 biological problems they are solving simultaneously. Problem 1 is energy depletion. Your leg muscles are the largest caloric consumers in your body during movement. When blood sugar is unstable, spiking after a meal and crashing within 2 hours, your leg muscles experience repeated energy interruptions that manifest as heaviness halfway up the stairs and exhaustion after walks that used to feel effortless. This is fuel delivery failure, not weakness in the conventional sense. Problem 2 is the biochemical theft of your muscle fibers by chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. Inflammatory compounds circulating at low levels in the bloodstream of most Western adults over 60 are silently degrading muscle fiber quality, reducing connective tissue elasticity, and causing the nighttime cramping and morning stiffness that make the first steps out of bed feel like punishment. Problem 3 is structural collapse, the direct loss of muscle protein caused by insufficient amino acid availability and degraded nerve-to-muscle signaling. The first food is sweet potato, and its role in this protocol is specific and measurable. Sweet potato provides complex carbohydrates with a glycemic index of 50 compared to white bread at 75, meaning the glucose it releases feeds your leg muscles at a sustained, even rate for 3 to 4 hours, rather than delivering a sharp spike followed by an energy crash. For older adults whose leg muscles are already operating at reduced capacity, this sustained fuel delivery is the difference between having energy for the second half of a walk and needing to sit down. Sweet potato contains beta-carotene, which plays a documented role in muscle cell membrane integrity, and potassium at 397 milligrams per 100 grams, which regulates the electrochemical gradient that initiates muscle contraction. Research from the University of Tokyo tracking adults over 70 found that consistent sweet potato consumption correlated with 22% better lower limb functional performance scores compared to controls consuming refined carbohydrates. The second food is oats, and I want to be precise about why they belong in this protocol rather than other whole grains. Oats contain a specific soluble fiber called beta-glucan that slows gastric emptying, meaning the carbohydrate energy from oats reaches your bloodstream across a window of 3 to 5 hours, being a property that researchers at the University of Minnesota identified as contributing to sustained physical endurance in older adults by preventing the mid-activity energy deficit that causes legs to feel suddenly heavy and unresponsive. Oats also contain avenanthramides, polyphenols unique to oats, shown in peer-reviewed studies to reduce chronic low-grade inflammation in skeletal muscle tissue and improve blood flow to the lower limbs. A breakfast combining oats with berries creates a nutritional synergy where the beta-glucan from oats enhances the absorption of the anthocyanin antioxidants from berries, producing combined anti-inflammatory activity greater than either food produces alone. The third food is berries, and the mechanism here is about protecting what your muscles have already built. Blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries contain anthocyanins, a class of polyphenols that neutralize the reactive oxygen species generated during normal muscle activity and the chronic low-grade inflammation of aging. In practical terms, a muscle fiber that would otherwise sustain oxidative microdamage during a morning walk is buffered against that damage, maintaining its contractile integrity and recovering faster between uses. Research from the USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging at Tufts University found that older adults consuming 1 cup of mixed berries daily for 8 weeks showed significantly lower markers of oxidative muscle damage and measurably reduced leg stiffness and morning cramping compared to the control group. The anthocyanins in berries also improve endothelial function in the small blood vessels feeding the leg muscles, increasing oxygen and nutrient delivery during activity. The fourth food is avocado, and most people over 60 are not eating it for the right reason or in sufficient quantity. Avocado contains more potassium per gram than banana, at 485 milligrams per 100 grams compared to banana's 358. Potassium controls the electrical gradient across muscle cell membranes, and when levels are insufficient, muscles cannot complete their contraction and relaxation cycle correctly. The result is the nighttime cramping that wakes seniors at 2 in the morning and the morning stiffness that makes the first steps out of bed painful and unsteady. Avocado's monounsaturated fat content also serves a structural role. The oleic acid in avocado integrates into muscle cell membranes and the myelin sheaths surrounding the motor nerves of the legs, improving both membrane flexibility and nerve conduction velocity. Research from Tufts University found that older adults with higher monounsaturated fat intake showed 30% better lower limb muscle quality scores than those with low intake. The fifth food is salmon, and its role addresses structural rebuilding of muscle tissue directly. Salmon is one of the richest dietary sources of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, which serve two distinct functions in leg muscle rehabilitation. First, EPA and DHA reduce the production of prostaglandins, the inflammatory signaling molecules that degrade muscle protein between periods of activity, slowing the catabolic destruction of muscle mass that accelerates in the legs of sedentary older adults. Second, omega-3 fatty acids have been shown in research from the Washington University School of Medicine to directly stimulate muscle protein synthesis through the mTOR pathway, the same pathway activated by resistance exercise. A landmark clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults consuming 4 grams of omega-3 daily for 6 months showed 37% greater muscle protein synthesis rates compared to placebo, an effect that salmon consumed 3 times per week delivers through whole food at equivalent therapeutic concentrations. The sixth food is eggs, and most Western dietary guidance for older adults has underutilized this food in ways that have cost seniors measurable muscle mass. Eggs contain the highest biological value protein of any whole food, meaning the proportion of their amino acid content actually available for muscle synthesis exceeds chicken, beef, legumes, or dairy. More critically, eggs contain choline, essential for producing acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter that carries the signal from the motor nerve to the muscle fiber. When choline is insufficient, nerve-to-muscle communication degrades, producing the hesitation, the stumbling, and the slowed reaction when stepping off a curb that most seniors attribute to general weakness, but that is actually a signaling problem, not a structural one. Research from the University of North Carolina found that choline intake correlated directly with walking speed and balance scores in adults over 65. Consuming 2 eggs at breakfast delivers the amino acids and choline leg muscles need at the precise moment when protein synthesis rates are highest after the overnight fast. Here is the error that 99% of Western seniors make with these foods, even those who consume them regularly. They eat them in isolation, inconsistently, and at the wrong time of day. The biological window for muscle protein synthesis in older adults peaks in the 90 minutes following overnight fasting, meaning breakfast is the most anabolically significant meal of the day for leg muscle maintenance. And most Western seniors fill that window with toast or juice, foods that deliver a glycemic spike, but none of the amino acids or antioxidant compounds aging leg muscles are waiting to receive. The combination that Japanese geriatric medicine has applied in practice for decades is strategic. Complex carbohydrates and anti-inflammatory polyphenols at breakfast to fuel and protect, high biological value protein and choline at lunch to rebuild, and potassium-rich foods throughout the day to maintain the electrochemical function that keeps cramping and stiffness from stealing the mobility the other foods have worked to restore. The synergy between these foods is not additive, it is multiplicative, and the research supports this distinction. When oats and berries are consumed together, the beta-glucan from oats forms a gel matrix in the gut that slows digestion and significantly increases anthocyanin absorption from the berries, producing anti-inflammatory blood levels that neither food reaches independently. When eggs and salmon are consumed within the same meal or within the same day, the choline from eggs enhances the neural efficiency of the motor pathways that control leg muscle recruitment, while the omega-3 from salmon reduces the inflammatory response to the mechanical stress of daily movement, meaning the muscles can be used more fully and recover more completely than they can when protein sources are consumed in isolation. Korean longevity researchers studying adults over 80 who maintained independent mobility found that dietary pattern diversity combining these specific food categories correlated more strongly with functional leg strength preservation than any single food consumed at high frequency, including protein supplementation. Let me tell you what this means practically. Begin with a breakfast containing oats, mixed berries, and 2 eggs. This combination provides sustained glucose delivery for 3 to 5 hours, full-spectrum essential amino acids during the peak morning synthesis window, choline for nerve-to-muscle signaling, and anthocyanin antioxidants absorbed more completely in the presence of oat beta-glucan. Add half an avocado to breakfast or as a mid-morning addition to address the potassium baseline that determines whether cramping and stiffness will interrupt your afternoon. Include sweet potato at lunch or dinner as your primary carbohydrate, replacing white potato or bread to maintain the stable fuel delivery your leg muscles need for sustained afternoon activity. Add salmon 3 times per week as your primary dinner protein. These are precise substitutions that replace nutritional voids with the exact compounds your leg muscles have been waiting for, requiring no special equipment, no expensive supplements, and no structural change to your daily routine. The research on these 6 foods in older adult leg strength and functional mobility is consistent across institutions. A study from the University of Exeter following 86 adults over 60 for 12 weeks found that those following a dietary pattern emphasizing these food categories showed 18% improvement in chair stand performance, a validated measure of leg strength, compared to controls following standard dietary guidance. Osaka University research tracking 4,200 adults over 65 found that higher omega-3 intake from whole fish correlated with 28% lower rates of walking speed decline over 5 years. A clinical trial published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging found that older adults consuming high biological value protein at breakfast specifically, rather than distributing protein evenly across 3 meals, showed 31% greater muscle protein synthesis response over a 24-hour period, confirming that timing matters as much as total daily quantity for older muscle biology. I want to address something I hear from seniors who come to my practice feeling that the muscle weakness and balance problems they are experiencing are punishment for decisions made decades ago, that they are too far along for nutrition to make a meaningful difference. They are wrong, and the research is unambiguous. Muscle tissue in older adults retains a measurable capacity for synthesis and rebuilding at every age studied in the clinical literature, including adults in their 90s. The studies I have referenced today included participants between 65 and 92 years old. The biological response to these nutritional inputs does not disappear with age. What changes is the threshold, meaning older muscles require more precise inputs delivered more consistently to achieve the synthetic response that younger muscles produce easily. You have not missed the window. The window is still open. What closes it is not age. It is continued nutritional insufficiency, and that is something you can change starting with tomorrow's breakfast. The timeline for results is specific and important to understand. The first changes you will notice, typically within 2 to 3 weeks, are a reduction in nighttime cramping and morning stiffness, reflecting improved potassium balance and anti-inflammatory activity of avocado and berry compounds. The second set of changes, appearing between 6 and 8 weeks, is improved sustained energy during walks, reflecting stabilized glucose delivery from sweet potato and oats. The structural changes, measurable improvements in leg strength, balance confidence, and walking speed, require 12 to 16 weeks, because muscle protein synthesis operates on the timescale of muscle fiber remodeling. Seniors who stop at week 4 because they have not yet felt stronger have stopped 8 weeks before the meaningful changes would have arrived. The patients I have watched recover real leg strength and walking confidence are those who showed up at every breakfast during the quiet period when the biology was working invisibly. Now let me give you the independence calculation that the pharmaceutical approach to muscle aging never offers. Managing the consequences of sarcopenia through falls, fractures, rehabilitation stays, and assisted living transitions costs the average American senior between $45,000 and $120,000 over 5 years. Physical therapy for fall recovery averages $3,500 per episode. A single hip fracture, which occurs in 1 in 3 women over 80 and is directly predicted by leg muscle weakness and balance decline, costs between $35,000 and $65,000 in acute care alone. The 6-food nutritional protocol I have described today costs less than $12 per day in additional grocery spending, being $4,380 per year. The gap between those numbers is not just financial, It is the difference between independence and dependence, between your own home and someone else's schedule. If you made it this far, I want to say something directly. You did not come to this video because you have given up. You came because you have not. And that matters because the biology I have described today only works for people who act on it. So before you close this video, I need 3 things from you. First, if you have not pressed like yet, do it right now. Without your like, this video reaches 100 people. With your like, it reaches 100,000, and somewhere in that number is a 78-year-old who just had a fall and has been told this is how it is from now on. That person needs to know it is not. Your like is the reason they find this. Second, subscribe and activate the bell. I have 36 more videos covering the anti-inflammatory compounds in traditional Asian diets that Western geriatric medicine documented but never translated into dietary guidance, publishing every single week. Third, share this with one person who has started holding the railing or quietly arranging their life around the fear of falling. Leave a comment telling me your country and the one change you are making starting tomorrow morning. Your action is not a number on a screen, it is someone's independence. I will see you in the next video where I reveal the traditional Japanese breakfast shown in 4 longitudinal studies to reduce fall risk by 41% in adults over 75. A meal taking 8 minutes and costing less than $3, never once mentioned in a Western geriatric prevention guideline. Dr. Jae Yoon, the science Asia has always known. Take care of yourself, I mean that.